And we are live. Good afternoon, alienated parents, alienated grandparents, and alienated children worldwide. Welcome to Let's Talk, Real Talk on Parental Alienation with myself, Mary Auld-Kovacs, and our guest today, we welcome back, is Yani Kühn from Prince Edward Island, Canada. I am from Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. So the show is recorded here in Canada, but it is gone worldwide. So this is for all US, UK, anywhere around the world. Please tune in and comment with us. Listen to what Yanni has to say. Today he's going to be talking about undiluting your case objective with truth in the family court system. False allegations are a huge thing today, and family court is the only court that allows lies, you know, allegations of abuse, allegations of neglect, alcohol, drugs, you name it. It should not be in the family court system. So I advocate for cameras in the courtroom for greater accountability and transparency. And without that, the family court judges can hide whatever they want. Lawyers can do whatever they want. They traumatize our children and they traumatize us. So I'm going to let Yanni talk with you out there. You have any questions, please ask them. And again, here we have Yani Kühn from Prince Edward Island. Hi, Yanni.
Hi, Mary. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How are you today?
I'm doing better. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. If you want to talk a little bit about how you got here to update the viewers out there, and then talk about where you want to start with today. Just briefly introduce yourself and
Yeah, and when when it happened to me, I realized I'm not alone. But when it happened to my cousin years ago, there wasn't a lot of support for people like that. And he gave up everything, his house, his furniture, his children. He just gave it to his wife that wanted everything. So there were not a lot of resources back then, but nowadays there are people advocating for this. In January, BC, British Columbia, there was a member of parliament that petitioned the House of Commons to look into this, and they referred us to the provincial courts, which is family court. They didn't want to do it under criminal court. So if we can advocate and get make it a law that it's illegal or a crime to undermine a parent's relationship with his children, then we can get it to federal level where it can fall under criminal court, just like other forms of abuse, like verbal abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse. So each province have to somehow make it a crime
right. Yes.
that it's illegal to undermine a parent's relationship with their children. There's a lot of studies coming out now about the dangers. I sent you some of them, just the highlights on
Yeah.
all the dangers that come with being for a child that didn't get consistent contact with one parent. So what we do for the children is very important. So my topic for today was how to undilute your case for objective truth. Because my intention is not that people win their case. My intention is that the right people win, or at least that we do what is in the right um, or the best interest of the children. So that's what I mean with objective truth. Because if somebody make an allegation that somebody else did something wrong, there are three options. Option one is that it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Usually everybody just assumes that's the only option because the person making the allegation might have high emotions and they really believe that. So then people just automatically assume it's true, but there are three options, not just one. The other option is that the person making the allegations might be the one that's acting badly by making false allegations or acting bad in other ways. Number three is both parents are acting badly. So when the case first comes to the judge or the court or anybody, they don't know which one it is. Most of the time they think it's number one. It must be true. But now there's enough of a history that they can um, objectively verify 25% of the cases are false. So that they know of.
Right.
But it's a very conservative number because that's only what they know of. They don't know of the ones they don't know about. Because at some point in time, the person made the allegation, and then after a year, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, then the court discovered, but whoa, back then there was a lie. And we gave them orders, but it was based on a lie back years ago. So that's how they know there's 25%. But what about the guys that they make the allegation, the guy, like my cousin, give up because they don't have the money, they don't have the resources, it's an emotional drain, they just give up. They didn't take the case back again and again and again and again so that the court could at some point, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years later, see, but oh, there was a false allegation.
Mm-hmm.
Don't even know about those people. It's 25, it's 1 out of 4 that they know about. So we have to go back again and again so that they can see how big the number really is. And even if it's not going to help in your case, it's just like in a rape case. If you go press charges or make a complaint at the police, it's not going to take the rape away. It's not going to help you much, but at least it's going to stop that perpetrator from doing it to the next person.
Yes.
So that's my vision. Is I might not be able to do anything in my own case, but for sure we can all work together, just like the gay rights movement. They were a very small minority. They got together. Now we are more than 25%. We're more than they are. So if we just work together, think what we can accomplish.
Right. Well, my children are adults, but I don't have grandchildren yet. They don't need to be put into this position. So I advocate for grandparents' rights, my future grandchildren's rights. So if we could help push this further without giving up as an alienated parent for 10, 20 years, we need to help the others because this is going to continue on a daily basis.
Yeah,
One out of 3 children will go through this every day.
yeah. According to that MP, it's 3.9 million children in Canada. That MP from BC. I think I've sent you the petition.
Yes, I
But
was reading stuff from there, and it's true.
yeah, so it's quite a significant number.
Hmm.
Um, so it's very important that we keep our sides clean so that people can see properly which side the errors are on. Now, especially if we can get people that, especially women, where it's been narcissistic husbands, but let's stay away from labels, pardon that. If there was a husband undermining your relationship with your children, then people are more inclined to listen than if it's a man saying that. because they think it's only men that's bad. So
Sorry, repeat that. You got cut off.
I
People
say
think,
some people think it's only men that can be bad. They put women on a
oh,
pedestal and think they can't do anything wrong. So automatically, men usually get a lot of resistance. But in the same hand, the innocent women, they it's very difficult for them to prove their innocence as well. How do you prove your innocence?
right. I mean, I went to prison twice, and then they tried to do it again 3 times.
Yeah,
And, without evidence, these false allegations should never be taken the way they are by the police. The police should take both sides, put them both into the police station and sit them down and talk, not together, but separately, just like a crime scene. Because you cannot arrest somebody on false allegations. How can I come into your house and say, okay, you did this because someone said, and we're going to take you to jail? But without evidence, you could tell me, go stick it up your ass. I didn't do that, right? Unless you have evidence. But police have just walked into people's houses, taken the children, taken the other parent, put them in jail to never see their kids again. It's been 19 years for me. And
yeah,
I'm not the only one. My ex-husband's father, 64 years ago, his mother did the same thing. And he never got to see his father again in 64 years. So these are learned behaviors through the alienation from generation to generation. There's 6 generations before this could actually stop and break. That's a lot of children. 6 generations worth, and how many millions a year? It's insane.
yeah. It's ridiculous, and the institution that was supposed to protect them are now actually hurting them and trafficking them. They lost over 1,000 children last year in child protection.
Yes.
So how do you lose one child? Never mind 1,000.
Yeah.
So
It's
anyway,
heartbreaking.
yeah, it's heartbreaking. So Judge Anthony, he mentioned something that's very important. He said we should avoid labels.
Right. Right.
Um,
It's so true.
uh, Bill Eddy said the same thing, but he used different words. He said we should avoid diagnoses because if everybody has narcissistic tendencies, for example.
Right. There's good, there's bad.
Exactly. So you can point to anybody's healthy narcissistic tendencies and say, okay, they have narcissistic tendencies, they must be a narcissist.
Hmm.
So, first place, just like the allegations, there are three theories. So, you might be wrong because you're not a doctor. And
Exactly.
even if you're right, then it's not going to help much because we have to focus on the behavior. A person, if they did nothing wrong, there's nothing that you can do about it. They have to do something wrong. It's just like you can't be arrested because you're white or black. There's not. That's just the way you are. But
Hmm.
uh, people on the internet have vilified innocent people, labeling them as narcissists, and that culture is quite prevalent. So if a person is really has narcissistic personality disorder, they won't think the problem is with them. So if they say you are a narcissist because they are projecting their own behavior onto you, then how do you disprove their allegations? And how do they prove it? They can't. So if you're labeling other people as a narcissist or any other personality disorder, you might actually be the one. The chances are much higher that you're the one than the one you're accusing. So anyway, I just wanted to underscore that because I still hear people say, yeah, but they're a narcissist, they shouldn't do this, or they shouldn't get custody. But we don't know. They haven't been for a diagnosis. And if they hurt the children or they undermine one parent's relationship with the children, or this pattern of lying and manipulation, that's stuff that you can work with. But just on a label, there's not much you can do, even if you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, they insisted that I go for a psychological evaluation because they really believed I'm a narcissist. And 3 psychiatrists and 1 psychologist, so that's over the years, have all said no, I'm not one. So hopefully now they'll stop with that. And now
Yes.
the papers I can go show the court. But back then, when they told me they want that evaluation done, I volunteered for that because they can't force you to go do that. I volunteered because I'm a submissive person. But the more I volunteered, the more they walked over me.
They denied you, right?
Yeah, because it's easier to take
Mm-hmm.
out on the floor mat than to go after the what's the word for the people that's so rebel and hard um, troublemakers. It's much easier to.
Underdogs.
Eh?
Underdogs?
No, no. It's much easier to take it out on the underdog than to go to the real.
Oh, okay. I used it backwards. Okay.
Yeah,
The
the
real
real.
criminals, basically, the real child abusers.
Yeah, so because they are sneaky and uh,
Conniving, manipulative.
yeah, so it's much easier for them. I've heard of another mother that was going through a very hard time. She self-referred to child protection, and then they treated her as if she's a drug addict and
Yes,
they go ballistic. So never again, this poor mother was going for help, but they go ballistic.
yes,
Um, Oversensitive, and a lot of times you work with children that don't even have children of their own, so they are extremely wise because they read 2 or 3 books on
yes,
child rearing, and then they can't tell you what you did wrong. All they can say is it's wrong, and what's the right thing? I asked him how many times. I said, here are my children, show me what to do. They say, no, we can't tell you. I said, but you are telling me. Why are you here? You tell me I'm doing wrong. Show me the right way. But they're delusional, and you have to work with them.
and that's so true, Yanni, because they'll they don't, like you said, have children of their own. They have no idea, no clue on even how to raise a child. They take your child by calling you an abuser, no evidence. Um, and I know I was called a crackhead alcoholic. I mean, I never drank in my life. I never did crack. But here I would ask them, what did I do? The child services or, the child's lawyers, what did I do? Oh, you know what you did.
Oh,
That's
I,
not an answer.
I thought they just did that to me.
You took away my kids and I'm supposed to know what I did when I was cooking for them, when the police came walking into the house and
And
took my children from me. I was making them dinner. Is that wrong? But they can't justify it. It's to make money. They don't care. They know I'm going to fight for my children, and I've been fighting for 19 years in the family court because
and
and the more I fought, the more money they were making.
Yeah, and now it's too late because the child can choose after 12. There's nothing to fight about
There's
anymore.
nothing. That's right.
So they told me the exact same thing. You know what you did. And then I said, no, I don't. But then my lawyer was with me and he said he wants to know. Then she copped out again. She said, no, I'll write a report to the judge or the court. 9 months later, going back and forth, they've been to court repeatedly for case management call. The judge, the one day she said, I'm very disappointed that the director didn't come like I asked. And then she asked their lawyer, now what should Yani do that you reopen his file? Then he pretend like he made it clear the first 75 or how many times she asked him earlier.
Wow.
She said, no, you didn't. What exactly should he do? And then he said he must engage in services. Vague again. They are so wacky. They don't even hear themselves. She said, now, what does that mean? Engage in services. He said he must go for counseling. She said, but he's been going for counseling before you close his file. Why did you close his file?
Yep.
So you say they did that to you, they did that to me. How many other people are there that they are just walking all over? So I decided and I told my lawyer, I'll do anything they want me to as long as they bring a court order.
Yes.
Because I'm done volunteering. If I volunteer, they elephant stamp me.
And that's it. I had to stop volunteering. Once they turned 18, I had to step back, allow them, my girls, to be sexually abused on the streets. They became alcoholic, drug addicts. I had to sit there and watch. I couldn't do anything. And when I went to the judge, I said, look, here's some pictures. Here's this. And the judge said, well, they're over 18. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, there's nothing you can do now.
There's nothing I can do now. But I said, yes, stop the next child from this happening too, because I'm not going to stop. And
That piece that I sent you with all the studies, the highlights, it shows you the actual statistics and the likelihood that stuff like that would happen to children that goes through what your children go through under 12 years of age.
but my kids were 15, 17, and 18.
Mm.
So they had the option. They knew what they were doing, but yet they chose to go to the abusive side, but they didn't choose. They were forced. I could see it in their eyes when I last saw them, how they went from bright to dull to like stabbing, piercing daggers
Mm.
on how much they hated me within, because I went to prison and then the status quo 5 months later. So I didn't get to see them for 5 months. And when I did, it was horrifying. That
Yeah, because they're different than when you last saw them.
right. So these young children that are under 12 that, are being dragged, forced,
Mm.
abused, and they have no voice is the scariest,
Yeah,
right? Because they can't get away.
the thing is that the children are forced to make a decision that they are not old enough to make legally.
That's right. Adults can't make decisions like that. The child's brain develops at 25, but technically they're not really adults until the brain gets to 35. That's when you say, oh, my mom said this to me when I was a child. My dad, it all makes sense. It clicks in at that age. So how does a 12-year-old decide? They are just learning.
Yeah, so it's on a development level, a child we should never be put in a position where they have to choose one parent above the other because it takes a village to raise a child, not a single parent.
That's right.
So it's bull. They lie to the court and the courts believe them. One parent cannot look after a child.
Nope.
It's not designed that way. Reptiles abandon the eggs, and then the children have to fend for themselves. But primates are always in a group. They don't survive on their own. A honeybee can't survive a winter on its own.
No.
It needs a beehive. They need to work together and keep the hive warm. But anyway, coming back to how to undilute your case, it's important because when you come to the judge, you must know what you want. A lot of people don't know what they want. You can ask people, what's your goals for this year or for the next 5 years? Most people haven't even written it down. They just hope for what's going to happen. So they don't know what they want. Number one is the biggest problem. The number two is the people that do know what they want, they don't know how to get it.
Right.
So if you can answer those two before you go to the judge, you're going to be most effective. And to do that, you have to be very concise and get your point across in a few seconds, like the was it Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg Address, where the one side was making this long argument, and when it was Abraham, because he was a lawyer, when it came his turn, he said, you know, we both agree that the people with the ships and the people with the train have to go there. We only differ on who is more important.
Yeah.
And that was 2 minutes, and he won the case because he could articulate it very shortly. So,
Right. We need to be like a politician that goes in to change bills. They talk so fast, they get their points out. They only got 2 minutes, right? So when you're coming towards the judge, it's the same deal. You got to act like a politician to get your facts out there, right?
yeah, but not any politician.
No,
Be-
no, no, no. But I'm talking about the way they talk, because politicians right now, to me, are useless. They're the ones that can change this, but they're allowing this to happen. Um, every politician we've gone to over the last 19 years have rejected us. They've slammed doors because they know it's a money racket, right? And nobody wants to be held accountable for what's happening. And
yeah,
I mean,
but part of it is because we focused on parental alienation, and there are two schools of thought. Some people don't even see parental alienation. So when you talk about parental alienation, that's as good as you talk to somebody that believes the earth is flat and you believe it's round. They don't see that.
and that's
So
why we need to educate them.
yeah, but they still won't see it. But if you focus on undermining another parent's relationship with the children, everybody can see that.
Right. But we can't go around changing everything now. I mean, we got Dr. Jennifer Harmon. We've got, you know, eh, all these specialists out there that have been doing it for so long.
Yeah, and they struggle because it's going to take time. The first person that talked about parental alienation was a psychologist in 1980, and then they thought he was crazy. Now,
Right.
since then, uh, there are now teams of psychologists that work to get that parental alienation syndrome, PAS, into
Yeah,
the
but syndrome is not really the right. It's a disease, a syndrome, right? These
the
alienators know what they're doing.
yeah, but
So you can't say it's a disease.
there's a
It
diff there are two things. You get the parental alienation, that's what the parent is doing, and then parental alienation syndrome, that is what the children are they develop in a certain way that is very distinct from a child that's really abused. So a child that's abused displays certain behaviors and thought patterns and stuff like that. But the child that's been alienated, they display a certain set of behaviors that you can see. All the children that similar to everybody that has asthma, they have certain symptoms. So the children experience this parental alienation syndrome, just like the Stockholm syndrome, where people get fond of the capturer. So
Right. That's a lot of domestic abuse scenarios there that
yes,
we get forced into marrying our cult leader, or forced into marrying, someone that has abused us, and then tell us that once we get married, we'll never have to encounter the abuse, but yet they're still doing it. So the things that they do to manipulate you to believing that they will change once they've got you is probably one of the hardest situations to get out of. And a lot of people say, well, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you leave? And I mean, I hear this for millions of people out there. They're forced into a marriage and they cannot get out.
and
And
so,
then they have children.
and sometimes they just don't have the resources. The other one has all the resources, so they can't.
We lost your screen. Okay, there you are.
They can't go anywhere.
But a lot of it, Yanni, I'm not, trying to minimize this on resources, but we're caught. We are trapped. Because a lot of times you hear the alienating parent or the abuser say, if you leave me, I'll kill you. If you leave me, I'll kill the children. If you leave me, if you leave me, if you leave me. So we are embedded to stay and take the abuse. We walk on eggshells. The children walk on eggshells. You can tell when you walk into a house when the children are dead silent, when both parents are there. Why are they, quiet? When that abuser leaves the house, the children are happy. They're, oh, mommy, daddy, or whoever is left behind, they feel more comfortable with, because they know they cannot um, bring themselves out to be who they're supposed to be. They're locked
But
into fear.
you'll see that alienated children would behave the same way, very, but a bit differently. They would be more aggressive towards the target parent, where an abused child would behave like what you say. They would be quiet and too afraid to upset the abuser. But if there's false allegations of abuse, then the children would be hostile towards the person.
Right,
So
right,
that's part of parental alienation syndrome. So they they are so distinctly different than a child that's really abused that they have the set of symptoms. They just want to put it in the DSM so that it can be recognized and treated, because that children need psychological support um, to function properly again.
right,
And know that they don't have to walk on eggshells, and they are support and how to healthy attach to people. So we get the psychologist that's working on that, and then we get the lawyers and judges that's working on parental alienation to make that a crime. Like what,
right.
so
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're doing wrong. I'm just saying if we phrase it like undermining a parent's relationship with his children, then even if a teacher tells your boy he's now a girl, or they tell him he's Spider-Man, he should go jump off the building, then you can charge them.
Right,
So it's
right.
not us, it's going to help everybody.
Yeah. Uh, let's get some of our viewers out there that are watching. I just want to give a shout out to Ruth Smith. Good to see you, Ruth. David Bentley, alienated dad. We have Wendy McDonald. Hi, Wendy. What, you got a few questions for us? And then we got Autumn Maddox. Um, and these are great supporters, advocates out there that are doing so much out there by sharing, talking about this. And We all use the same term, parent alienation, because as an advocate, we know what that is. And if we can get it into a courtroom as PA, that the judges will understand that what they're doing is they're harming, because they're putting the children into a syndrome. Like you said, the children are at early stages, very young, to be alienated, and once they fear the other parent now, they will always have that fear growing up as a alienated adult child now. That's the syndrome that I could see in the young kids. But when you're an adult, you can distinguish the difference between good and bad. And you can say, oh yeah, okay, I'm only holding the child back because you left me. I'm only holding the child back because you exposed me. This is what they're using the excuse for, that they don't know what they're doing. They do know what they're doing. But when a child does it and writes a letter to mommy or daddy saying, I hate you, I don't want you to ever come pick me up, I don't want to see you again, or, go kill yourself. All these things that these young children are saying in a text or a letter to mommy or daddy or even grandparents are from the alienator. The children are hearing this somewhere, somehow, even in conversation. They're hearing it from other children at school. Oh, I have to go see my mom this weekend. I can't come and play with you because I won't be at my dad's house, or I won't be at my mom's house. These are so common these days because millions of children know each other that are coaching on how to use tactics on, to get out of it, to not go to see that other parent, or to say that they're at one parent's house and be somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, telling the other parent, oh, I'm going to go see mom, but never show up at mom's house, or I'm going to go see dad, never show up at dad's house. So they go out, they cause mischief, they get into trouble. It takes 1 second for them to do something wrong, and their whole lives are changed. There's no parent, um, uh, no one to watch them, because the kids are now using the parents. These kids are learning very young on how to manipulate parents, right? So if they don't want to see that mom or don't want to see that dad, they will tell the police or the judge that that parent abused me. I don't want to go there, just to get out of it. Now that's sad.
Yeah, so you have a very highly biased and emotional witness. And they take their word as if it's the truth.
Yeah, it's pretty scary out there what these kids are getting into, and being, you know, coerced into sex trafficking, and oh my goodness, dancing, exotic dancing. They change sexes, and they just don't know anymore because they have no guidance. And our politicians need to understand that they got to help us. They need to stop the family court system from taking children from parents, grandparents. They all have their grandchildren with them, or their children. They're growing up in a family unit. Why? Because the other parent doesn't want to leave them because they're making all this money. They know they'll be trashed and put to the curb as everybody else is. So these are, it's like dog eat world. If you don't do it, you know, you gotta, oh, I could go on forever. Sorry. But yeah, it's abuse. It's child abuse, mental, emotional, psychological abuse, to put a child through this.
So if we can make it illegal, then it's going to be a crime just like rape.
Well, isn't it already illegal? Coercion?
If it was illegal, why would we struggle like that?
Well, domestic abuse, that's a crime.
Yeah, but
So
we're talking
child abuse is no different. That's domestic abuse. It's in the family.
talking about a specific kind of abuse that's not seen yet as abuse, and that is undermining one parent's relationship with another.
Well, yeah, we gotta get the politicians out there to stop this, to pass this into the system as a family related of violence.
Yeah,
Because
I doubt if that politicians could help with that. It would more be the lawmakers, the people that make the laws, like the House of Commons or the uh, Legislative Assembly of Prince Edward Island. We just need to find the equivalent in Ontario.
okay, see you later, Autumn. Love you too. Yes, and here I have a certificate with the legislation of assembly raising music, raising awareness for domestic violence, murders, suicides, parent alienation over the last few years. I was awarded that by Monique Taylor, our MPP here in Ontario, and yet I can't get any further. Once I got awarded, it was like, oh, I think we did a mistake by giving that to her, because now look at her, she's running with it. But yeah, mental illness is a serious issue due to the family court system. There are parents out there that are committing suicides, murder suicides. It is just so horrific to have your child taken from you. It's no different than a someone that comes and kidnaps your kid that you don't know. But the fact of knowing who did it is the worst part, because the police won't go and do anything about it.
Yeah,
What makes them any different than a child um, molester, child trafficker, child abuser? It's so hard for us to deal with, knowing that our children are running the streets, anyone could harm them. But us, we can't. We can't, and we're not the ones that harmed them. We protected them.
yeah. So the important part is to protect the family. Like in this picture, you see the father and the mother. They are protecting the children. They're making a covering over them. And once you don't have the covering, then the children are out in the wild and the coyotes and stuff can get them. And that's a proverb for what's going on now,
Yes,
metaphor, because
yes,
the drugs and the prostitution and the stuff that comes with the mental uh, illness, and then the drugs cause mental illness. So if a person was healthy and they thought they're just going to try a few drugs, that drugs can cause mental illness. So if they already have mental illness and then they use the drugs to cure it, that's like scratching a scar that was bleeding, making a scab.
mm-hmm.
Scratch the scab off is not going to stop the bleeding.
No,
But
no,
the recipe for disaster is a few errors in judgment repeated every day. So they thought a Hershey bar a day is going to keep the doctor away. It's not going to work. An apple a day is the saying, not a Hershey bar. So the same with this system. Uh, Family and court shouldn't even be in the same sentence, because it's like kosher pork or Christian pornography. It's not something that could actually, or like dry water. It's a misnomer, but people are so brainwashed that they think that that's the way to do it. But if you can't sort out issues with other people, what makes you think you can sort it out in the next marriage? The survival rate of the second marriage is even worse.
yeah,
So, obviously, sometimes you have to leave a person because it's toxic, or you won't survive because they want to kill you or whatever. I can understand that, but nowadays people divorce for nitty gritty stuff that they exaggerate so bad that it's not healthy for them.
Mm.
Um, so their problem is not a marriage problem, it's a personal problem.
Yes.
Uh, the same if it's a person with a gambling addiction or a problem, and they take that into a marriage, it's going to cause problems because it's already a personal problem. If you want to make an omelette, you need all the eggs need to be cooked. If one egg is rotten, it's going to be a problem. So we have to work on our own personal issues and stuff, and then we can relate better to other people. So my whole angle is to do what's the best, not just for the children, but for yourself too. Because if we don't, and you win, it's quite an empty win. Um, because we need to do what's right and supports life.
Right. We got to do things in the best interest of the children, and the children need both parents to
Yeah,
grow healthy minds, bodies, and souls. I
yeah,
mean, we all know when we're left alone in a house all by ourselves all winter long, we get depressed as
yeah.
an adult because we can't get out. Now, imagine a child that lost a parent, knowing that parent is alive, but they can't get to that parent. They're going to go into depression. They're going to sustain severe anxiety, um, dissociative disorders. And, they won't be able to sustain a healthy relationship with anyone because they don't know how. They've never been able to, well, they were at one time, but it was taken away. So as a young child, and that gets taken away, it's in your head that I'm not worthy of having someone around me. So they're going to be, same thing when they get into a relationship with their own partners. If the partner gets up and goes away to work or whatever, that person that's left behind that suffered all that through the trauma through childhood will become jealous, outraged. They'll follow their partner to work. They'll stalk that partner. This is how a lot of mental health problems arise into that lack of trust, lack of security. I mean, it's so bad that this is what's happening to these children when they become adults, because I see it. I know what it was like to be married to a jealous person. Once I went to work, he would tell the children, "Mommy's abandoning you." Well, I'm going to work. So the kids running, clinging to my legs. So it started right from birth, this kind of manipulation, because people say, "Oh, how did the kids turn?" Well, the kids weren't turned. The kids were programmed at birth, sometimes even before birth, because there are males out there that can't handle the women being pregnant because they're not feeling it. They're not, it's not growing in them, right? So they're missing out on the birth part of it. And it's, you bring them into the room, but they didn't go through the 9 months of it. There are a lot of men out there. I'm not knocking men. I'm just saying that this is how the violence begins when the babies, the pregnant mother gets killed, kicked, abused. It's they don't think about the child being inside that woman. So the violence escalates after the birth. The children start getting abused. It's a daily pattern that these abusers have gone through themselves, because I know, when a child is left by themselves for 14 years and all of a sudden a new sibling comes, how's that child going to behave? They're going to be outraged because they are no longer the number one. They've got a new brother or sister. So they're going to have hate for them.
It depends on how you introduce the
Right.
one, because for example my children, the oldest ones are like mommy hens on the smaller ones. So we taught them that, and they look after them like they look after a doll or something. They're very nurturing. So it depends on how you do that, and if it's a if the father is abusive or the mother, for the children they start believing that is normal, and
Right.
then also do that, and that's why they say hurting people hurt others.
Yes,
So
exactly.
trauma, after conception, you start picking up stuff
Hmm.
uh, on an emotional level, and so there are many books written on it, and what you say can be seen the patterns in. Similar to how you can see parental alienation syndrome in a child, or a child is abused. The shoulders might be forward, they might be very quiet and scared around people. Stuff like you can start seeing stuff. Uh, you might not know what you're seeing, but uh, if you see enough of that, then you start putting two and two together, and then you realize, but this is what's going on.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. So we've gone past 50 minutes here, Yanni. I don't want to hold you up too long. You could stay for another 10 minutes if you'd like. And maybe now you could talk about how this program that you're trying to get set up to have people learn about the, the the problems that they're facing.
which program?
Well,
Because more
the
than
one the one that you were coming to talk about today on diluting the court cases,
undilute your court case.
undilute the court cases. How would you get people involved in this?
Um, Bill Eddy talks about birth statements. So um, it's the same concept, but we just apply it to your whole court case. But they use the same concept in marketing. So if people want to know more of that, then they can contact me, and we have groups where we practice it and help people get their point across in 30 seconds or less.
Oh, that quick.
Yeah, now sometimes you need a bit longer because there's a lot of details that's important.
Yes.
But um, to give you an example of how it works, let's say you write this much, one paragraph,
Okay.
and you're dealing with a high conflict person. Then they're going to find 2 pages of fault with that. So if you're writing 2 pages, how much fault are they going to find with that?
You're right. Yeah. I mean,
Now
if
that
they're
was,
looking for faults instead of solutions, right?
yeah, that was my mistake in my relationship. I thought if I give them the whole story, then they're going to see it's not what they thought it was. But I didn't realize were just looking for mistakes. So, so
Right.
I'm brief. It's very hard for them to find mistakes in.
That's true. That's so true.
So I do what they call birth consulting. So if people need to write an email or answer something, then I can help with that.
Birth consulting?
Birth, birth. Bill Eddy came up with it. It's called birth. It's brief, informative, firm, and friendly.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
So it, he has a book just on birth statements, but the book that I would recommend people start with is Splitting. Um, it's all the legal and psychological advice that you would need going through a high conflict divorce.
Wow.
In that,
So
it touches,
it
yeah,
sorry, if people want to get in contact with you, how would they get in touch with you?
They can Google the name that they see here on the screen,
Okay.
or they can just put it all together and put the .ca on the end.
Okay.
There used to be another church, but they are a different ending. So ours is CA, like Canada.
So it's your name,
Yeah, Charlottetown Community Church.ca.
Charlottetown.
Yeah.
Okay.
The
I'm going to
single,
put it on the website.
the Single Parent Association is one of the departments of the church.
Okay.
And the website, the email address is just live at charlottetown.communitychurch.ca.
Life at Community Church.
At Charlottetown Community Church, just like you see
Sorry.
under my screen.
Okay. All right. I'll get those into the link. So your last words to alienated parents and grandparents out there, and to the children, what would your last words be to them before we end this program today?
Ask for help, because sometimes we try and do it all on our own, and it's too big for one person to do.
It's a good advice. Not too many people like asking for help, but this is a serious issue because our children are kidnapped, and everybody that would have a unknown kidnapper would call the police, and they're waiting for a ransom call or something. What makes our children any different? Basically the alienator is holding our children for ransom because they don't want to pay child support, spousal support. They don't want to pay anything to the other parent, so they're holding back on a lot of things.
Sometimes they just get child bonus, other bonuses from children, which
Yeah.
is the same thing that you're saying.
Yes, exactly. Bonuses are like ransom money to them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not about the children. They don't care about the children. They just
No.
want to and get everything for themselves to feed their ego or whatever their issue is. Sometimes it's a paranoid person or a paranoid personality disorder, and they can get quite dangerous. They'll even attack you um, because they think you're a danger to them.
Yes.
And
That's what I mean, that, parents are getting killed. Judges, lawyers are getting killed. It's not just, alienated parents anymore. It's gotten so horrible that you
yeah,
can't trust them.
yeah, they are different. There are five um, very dangerous personality disorders, and if you count the amount of the population together that they are, it's more than the addicts.
Yes.
So it's becoming quite a serious thing, and people are starting to wake up. I see a lot of books coming out now on these issues.
Well, that's because a lot of people now have been brave enough to, and not only brave enough, but they're healing because their kids are adults. So now we have to let go once they're adults. But while they're little, we are very torn apart, and I barely could function. But
Yeah,
once they're adults, we can now step forward to help the next person. We write books. I'm doing the podcast to help anybody out there that wants to come on to the show. Just contact me. You're available to come on. You could come on with Yani one week or whatever. I mean, we are here to help educate, to help you heal. We can't give you legal advice because we're not lawyers. We can't give you medical advice because we're not doctors, but we could give you support, resources, and what better person to have than Yani Kühn come out to help you? Because, we need strong advocates to help people that are going through this, because we were one time a broken branch. but somehow we got back together because trees do grow back once they're dead. I've got 5 of them in my yard that they were sticks, and they're beautiful trees now. So we are healing through the process, we're educating, and we're here to support.
And on that topic, for bibliotherapy, biblio is Latin for library or reading.
Okay.
So therapy, bibliotherapy. You don't even need a license for that. All you need is a library card and
Oh,
no books to read. Eh,
that's right.
For example, splitting is an amazing resource. By divine appointment, I got somebody that I didn't even know just contacted me out of the blue, say, I just feel the Lord say I should tell you about this book. I ordered that book immediately. I don't just order books when people say that, but when I got that message, there was something in me that say I need to listen to other books people would also tell me about, and then I don't even bother to read them, and then other 3 or 4 other people tell me about the same book, and then I would do it. But in this case, it was quite different. And then you get other books that we read in our peer support group. So people can tune in online as well for that. And then we read a chapter a day, a chapter in a week, and then we just discuss it. And it also gives you a voice that you can know and speak with other people that's going through the same thing than you do. Because a lot of people that go through this get PTSD.
Yes, for sure. It is very traumatizing and CPTSD because it's a daily occurrence. It's daily living the death of a living child. It never goes away. So, we're living with PTSD, CPTSD. We got a grief disorder because it's living death.
Yeah.
It,
But,
it, there's
but
so much.
But if you keep practicing stuff like CBT, for example, you learn how to cope better. To give you an idea, what happened with me was um, I would make scary images in my mind of what I think could go wrong. And I've been practiced that for many years because when I was a little boy, my mom would say stuff like, just wait till your dad gets home.
Mm,
And then I would go run underneath hide underneath the bed and start practicing making scary images until I fall asleep. So after years of that, I could psych myself up quite quickly. And then learning in CBT that what you think about cause certain emotions. Then I learned new mind habits. And I'm not that good with it yet, but I'm much better than I was 5, 6 years ago. So if I keep practicing that, then automatically I can calm much faster next time than I was in the beginning. In the beginning, I didn't even know that there's a spontaneous relaxation response that you can trigger, just like you trigger anxiety response.
mhm.
So, but as a child, I discovered it unconsciously, and that was normal for me to do. So
Right.
with CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, you learn how to spot your wrong thinking, uh, stinking thinking, because I really needed a checkup from the neck up. And anyway, that helped me quite a lot. So in the practice groups, we practice this, and there's no other group out there that do the practice runs. They would tell you what to do, but they don't practice that with you. And if you cook, let's say you want to bake a cake, you're not going to get it right the first time. Maybe
Practice makes perfect. Yeah,
that's it. So now you have a complex thing because your situation keeps changing. The interactions are different every time, but you've never practiced one that you can actually get the hang of it.
right, right,
So with birth statements and CBT, now you learn new behaviors and you don't attract that negativity anymore.
right.
To give in, remember what I said about the long pages? I used to tell a long story, and unbeknown to me, I was actually opening the conversation and keeping a negative conversation alive.
Right, right,
So with the proper training, we can shorten that and minimize the negativity.
right. Well,
DS,
Yanni, thank you so much for this today. I mean, you've been so inspiring to get out there to help others and ourselves. So, until next time, you're coming back. We're in November, so December, the last Tuesday of the, or I can't remember how we do it. Last Tuesday of the month. If you'd like to bring a guest with you, we'd appreciate that as well.
thank you.
Um, so we're going to end this from Molly and me. Molly is my emotional support dog. She's gotten me through the last almost 2 years from the trial that I just went through after 18 years alienated. It
Mm,
was the worst trial ever to see my adult children on the stand. We don't want our children to go there. There's no reason for adult children to go on to testify against us for the alienating parent, for change of motion, for support payments, for whatever. Keep the children out of it. Let the children live. They haven't even gotten married and they're already, in a lifetime of divorce here. So, to end this, I'd like to, thank everybody that comes out here to help educate, and and help another person deal with the the anxiety that comes because it causes illnesses. People are dying with heart attacks, high diabetes, blood sugars, strokes, because they can't handle it. So reach out to someone out there, alienated parents, grandparents, children. You're not alone. We are here, like I said. So until then, on Sunday night, this Sunday coming, I have Christine Goris coming with another guest, uh, Camilla. Both are alienated moms who are going to talk about child trafficking on Sunday at 7 p.m. for our Sunday night show. So tune in until then. And until then, parents, grandparents, alienated children, never give up. You have one family only, and that family is very important. So to heal, to live a good, healthy life, do that phone call. Call your parents, call your mom, call your dad, grandparents. They're out there waiting for you. So until then, thank you for joining us on Let's Talk, Real Talk on Parental Alienation and Family Corruption. Thank you, Yanni, and good night.
see you later.
Bye.